this for the last 2 years and brought a question. If this board has no authority over that housing authority board, and Florida statute says that the mayor has the right to pick whomever and put in that position, why are we as council are asked to make a vote on a board which we have no authority over? And the Florida statute says we do not have that. Only the mayor has the authority to appoint that board member.
The statute indicates that for that particular authority, the mayor has the obligation to make an appointment, and then the city council can agree with or disagree with his recommendation. But the recommendation is his by statute to make, and then the statute clearly indicates that his appointment would be ratified or declined by vote and resolution of the city council. So this is the procedure we followed last 2 or 3 times, is that the mayor appoints and the board either agrees or disagrees with his decision. And so the resolution title as read would be for an approval of his appointment to Mr. Ellis.
Well,
So the council can vote that yay or nay.
From what I've read and studied Florida statute myself and talked to housing authority, it's still solely on the mayor who makes that appointment. And I don't know how we as city council get involved into doing that particular. The other things we do, but I don't know how we got involved in that one when we have no hands on that.
There's the statute there, and it's highlighted.
I can read it into
as a
the
council
record. It says, appointment qualifications and tenure of commissioners, hiring of employees. When the governing body of a city adopts a resolution as aforesaid, the mayor, with the approval of the governing body, shall promptly appoint no fewer than 5 persons, and no more than 7, as commissioners of the authority created for such city. 3 of the commissioners who are first appointed shall be designated to serve for terms of 1, 2, and 3 years respectively. The remaining commissioners shall be designated to serve for 4 terms of 4 years each from the date of their appointment. Thereafter, each commissioner shall be appointed as aforesaid for a term of office of 4 years, except that a vacancy shall be filled for the unexpired term by an appointment by the mayor with the approval of the governing body within 60 days after such vacancy occurs. Do we have any further discussion?
You need a motion first.
We
We had a motion and a second. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? All right.
Mr. President, tomorrow, of course, is September the 11th. I have a proclamation here from Governor Ron DeSantis to remember and honor the 2,977 innocent lives lost on September 11th, 2001, when our nation endured the worst terrorist attack in United States history. It goes on to say, we owe a debt of gratitude to our military, law enforcement officers, firefighters, first responders, and other emergency personnel for the selfless courage they demonstrated in the face of terror while defending our nation's cherished freedoms that day and thereafter. He goes on to say, now, therefore, I, Ron DeSantis, Governor of the State of Florida, do hereby proclaim September 11, 2024 as Patriot Day and a National Day of Service and Remembrance. I call upon the people of our great state to observe this day with appropriate ceremonies and activities, and to observe a moment of silence beginning at 8:46 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time in honor of those who were killed on September 11, 2001 in New York, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. I hereby direct the flags of the United States of America and the state of Florida to be flown at half-staff from midnight to midnight at all local and state buildings, installations, and grounds throughout the state of Florida on Wednesday, September 11, 2024. Furthermore, I encourage all other governmental entities, interested groups, and organizations throughout the state to display the national and state flags at half-mast, half-staff in observance of Patriot Day and National Day of Service and Remembrance. There will be a ceremony at the Live Oak Fire Department. Chief Hayes is here. That will begin at 8:30.
Yes, sir. 8:30.
Begin at 8:30 in the morning, and everyone is invited. Thank you.
Mayor, is that it for you?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll move on to item 6 on the agenda. Item 6A, Ms. Robinson.
I'm gonna ask our public works director to come up to answer questions.
And also, Mr. Flynn, you want to speak before or after the session on this?
Doesn't matter to me, whatever works for you.
Ms. Robinson, your choice.
I'll sit down. My name's Robert Flynn, I'm Live Oak Antique Mall, downtown Live Oak, 21, 223, and 217 West Town. It may not matter to some of the people here, but I'm not gonna go out and clean a manhole at all. I don't mind picking up things on the street to keep our area clean, but I'm not gonna do a manhole. I think that's the city manager's job to have people do it. And, sorry, and to follow up on that same conversation, it was probably me she was talking about, who says, I have talked to the mayor, and I've told him face to face, I don't talk about people behind their back. He's never been in my shop in 6 years, up until that one day.
No, sir, that's not true.
It is true, it is true. And there's only 2 people up here.
I went in there looking for old baseball cards one day.
Only after I talked to you.
No,
No, no.
that's just for the record.
And there are 2 people that I've seen are familiar faces. The rest of you have never been in our shop. My concern is, how can you represent our businesses downtown if you don't know what's in them? I don't ask you to come and buy, but you should have at least the knowledge of what's in there. It could be junk, it could be wonderful stuff, but you don't know. How can you recommend to somebody who's asking, is this a good city to live in? I mean, we do have a tax base that comes to the city based on what we sell. Secondly, you know, we got worse of the flooding downtown. We personally have now thrown $50,000 away due to the flood, only to hear that there was a manhole that was so clogged that the water couldn't run through it, and the manhole was cleared and the water ran out of the city, 2 feet of water in 20 minutes. Now, I'm not saying my shop couldn't have been damaged, but I'm saying it wouldn't have been damaged as badly as it was if there had been something done. We talked with Mr. Sessions last Wednesday night. We had a meeting for the downtown people, and he told us that he had 45 wells, I believe 45 or 46, and they were out cleaning them now. There should have been some sort of a checkoff sheet or something prior to a storm happening. What does the city do? I know he mentioned 2 million gallons, I think it was, that they let out of the reservoir or whatever there was. But that obviously wasn't enough. But the runoffs seem like they have not ever been kept up, and consequently backed up all the water to make us suffer from it. So the second thing he told us was the procedure manual had not been changed since 2017. It's sitting on a shelf. Well, I'm retired. I was the director of clinical services at a Shands Hospital, and we had to do manual checkups every year. I mean, who's watching to see whether or not this is done? Okay.
President, I'd like to make a couple of comments.
Sure.
All right, the manual that JL and I found was made in 2013. So the previous, board's probably done something about it. The other thing is, the wells that I spoke about, we were not allowed to clean those out until I was given permission by the DEP. So as soon as I got permission, we cleaned them all out within a week. But it takes special permission to pump these wells down. We have wells the size of 4-inch wells all the way to 16-inch wells. But we're not allowed to do anything but to the tops of them. We got an okay from the DEP to actually put pressure on them to pump them down after the fact. So, Mr. Flynn, that's the answer.
All right, if that's the answer, then who's watching to see that the DEP does it? Are they just leaving it up to, maybe they'll do it, maybe they won't?
The DEP is a state and a federal agency that I have no control over. I have to ask, and I actually had to ask a actual federal representative to try to put pressure on them to allow us to do this. And it happened.
It happened.
But due to Marco Rubio, Kat Kamick, and the governor, it was the only reason that they, probably with that little bit of pressure, is why they allowed us to do it, or they just let us sit like we are.
So what do we do in the future? If they're plugged up, we just sit here
Well-
and drown in the water when it comes?
I have plans in place that I was gonna explain tonight during this discussion, but I'll let JL take questions first.
Ms.
Well,
Rollins,
I would like
it's your agenda item.
Yes.
I think you have another individual that may want to speak on this agenda item. I'm gonna leave that up to your discretion.
Go ahead.
Still most separate. On those wells, I was thinking if there's any way to preemptively get approval, I'm hearing him loud and clear, and I working in some of those shops that got flooded down there. And the thing, and I admit, I appreciate you bringing it up, somebody needs to, and I already heard it anyway, Mr. Sessions brought it up. But my limited knowledge in this, I just want to throw this in there. I admit, I'm very ignorant on what all, but I've heard live oak described as a bowl. I agree with that. I've seen the flood. I've seen it more than one time, not this bad. But, you know, the basic, I know we can't, part of the reason, I guess, with those wells is because of the pollution. My thoughts was, I mean, very basic, if we had a lift station similar to what we do with sewage and all up a hill, you know, and somewhere between here and that, what is it, Flamingo Bay, or actually the Swanee River, 5 miles or 10 miles, you have a purification system, which would make it tolerable for dumping into either one of those locations, if nothing more than just a backup. And I don't know the diameter of the pipage that would have to be for that, but that could eliminate any future. And now we're talking about a $15 million shelter out on 129. The need of that might be eliminated if things like that were done. I'd rather see $7.5 million spent. I ain't done yet, and I ain't time this time. I get to talk. So it's on there.
Yeah, I figured you got
And I'm about done anyway. I just seen the eyes cutting. Shut him up, you know. But again, this has proved my initial point, since I got all that time for that, that if y'all don't want to hear me, y'all don't want to hear these other people, shame on y'all. I mean that to each and every one of you, because we're free. We're absolutely free. Me, I know for a fact I have no agenda. I'm up here to contribute only. I don't want nothing. I don't want nothing. I've been offered jobs. I don't want jobs. I want to help for free. And so pick my brain, as ignorant as it may be. If you can't use my ideas, you know, at least throw them in there for thoughts, man. And there's a lot of these old people, these white-haired people, did get white-haired by being told idiots, you know? So, but anyway, if nothing else, that for an emergency thing, I don't know the cost of it, I don't know any of that. But I know if we purified the water before it got to that bay or it got to the river, it couldn't be objected to. And if you preemptively got approval, get the governor, he was pretty proactive here, get him to do the preemptive approval, you know, and then we're done. Thank you.
Well, this is a good segue into what my discussion is with JL as Director of Public Works. This falls on you. Mr. Sessions' job is to make sure your plans are sound and you're followed through.
Yes, ma'am.
So apparently, okay, I'm sorry. This is not the first time, as we all know, that the city of Live Oak has flooded, not just downtown, but throughout every district of more than likely have flooding. It's not the second time. This is all you hear is that, yeah, we're in a boat. It's gonna flood. Every rain that comes is going to flood. But what has been proactively done about it, other than cleaning manholes?
Nothing since I've been here.
Nothing since you've been here.
How
That's
long
our
have you been here?
year and a half.
A year and a half. Nothing that you know of previously, prior to that.
But I know since I've started, we have been trying to implement before every rain to go around to the storm drains and clean them so that the rainwater will actually get into the storm drains. But when you got residents that's blowing lawn clippings and the leaves in the road, that just kind of defeats our whole purpose, because even though that's the ordinance that's not allowed, they still do it.
So lawn clippings is blocking the drains.
It can over a period of time.
So that it floods our city the way it floods our city.
That is part of it, yes.
Is it that we are not equipped to handle our system, our sewer system?
The amount of gallons that we got, we do not have enough storage in the city to hold it all.
Okay, so what is it that we need, instead of kicking the can down the road, what is it that we need to do? What plan do you have? Just as I think Mr. Was saying, what is the plan?
To
To prevent
identify.
this from now, I feel really sorry for the,
Oh, I do too.
for the people starting all over, for the residents whose homes get flooded, for the business owners starting all over every so often. It's very expensive, it's very heartbreaking. So what is the plan? What plan, you as the director, what is the plan?
To identify locations to where we can either A, pump the water out of the city to known locations that does not flood, or that has already identified sinkholes that the water will go into, to get it out of the city when we do have a substantial rain like that.
Okay.
But it's gonna take millions of dollars in funding, along with putting in new infrastructure to accommodate that type of storage for rainwater.
Is it too much to ask for you to, I want to ask the council to take action, can we have a workshop on flood prevention? If they'll agree to that. But is it too much to ask for you in 3 months to give us a flood prevention plan with a timeline? I know you're not saying like, oh yeah, we can do this in a year, but over a timeline of,
It's gonna take 25, 30 years just because of the cost of the funding of construction this day and age.
okay, but putting it together.
Right.
And what I would like to see, I'm going to ask the council as well, is to, we create a flood prevention board, getting people to sit on that board that, who's knowledgeable, someone from businesses, from the water management, different entities who can help make sure that our city no longer get flooded out. So those are the things that I am requesting, is that we have some workshops on flood prevention for the city, and that we put together a board that helps with the direction of preventing flooding of the city. So I don't know the proper way that I asked for it, or how it's done, because as he said, it's going to take a long time. It's going to take more than him doing this. And as you see, there are people who are knowledgeable. We need to get people who, from Florida FDOT. We need people from, as I said, the Swanee River Water Management, business owners, residents, to sit on this board to help direct this, this movement to keep this from happening again. We may not get it for the first time, but at least it's an ongoing trying to do an ongoing solution so that the can is not kicked down the road, continually kicked down the road.
Council,
Yes, sir.
I know you weren't at our meeting with the people downtown when I was there, and I gave them some of my plan, because I have a plan to fix it. I talked to the governor about it. So I'd like to entertain you with that information, but I'll give you some numbers tonight. on this list, it says 45 wells. Well, I took out the numbers that were missing. We actually only have about 36 wells. Some of them are as small as 4 inches. All right, so we all know in town, cups are floating around everywhere, right? Plastic cups, these kind of cups. Here's a 4-inch well. Cup gets in it, guess what? It doesn't do its job, even though we've cleaned it completely just minutes before the storm. And the cup gets in a 4-inch well, it's not going to suck anything down. It's not going to take a gallon, okay? So I've done some calculations, and the current wells that we have and the abilities that they have and the size of the wells, basically we can take 16,000 gallons an hour with the wells that we have to go down in the aquifer if they're clean, okay? We need more than just go-away wells in Live Oak. We need infrastructure to pump water out, like JL said. And JL and I have been discussing this numerous times since this all happened. I personally met with 3 different engineering companies, one of which put in the pumps in New Orleans post-Katrina. They know what to do with places that are in a bowl. So, got with the governor. He didn't come out and say, I'm going to fund this for you, but through the grapevine, he's approving this, approving what our plans are. The DOT has a lot of issues. The DOT came to town the other day to talk to me and JL. And when we opened this particular manhole that everybody talks about, it didn't go where they thought it went. So there's a lot of engineering issues within the city that says one thing and means another. I'll give you a good example. There's a sinkhole that opened up over on Wilbur Street next to, or behind the elections office on the street besides the football field. Well, that new pond that was built behind the elections office flows to a manhole in the middle of Wilbur Street. Well, during this event, there was so much water in that retention pond, it went to the manhole. There's about a 20-foot pipe that flows to the north that flew right into a piece of steel and a piece of concrete, went nowhere. So when it blew up the clay pipe, it started swirling around and caused a sinkhole in the road. So we've got many issues that are not even documented in this town to where anybody knows where stuff goes. So we have a big job ahead of us. But as far as getting things out of the city, I have 2 locations where I know that I can pump